Mr. Chair, thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. As you will recall, in 2013, revelations by Edward Snowden prompted outrage. Governments spying on its citizens. Our privacy was being infringed. Governments' answers responded that surveillance was necessary to counter the threat to terrorism, and indeed, the challenge we face is to protect our rights while also protecting security and lives of people in the EU. In doing so, we acknowledge at the FRA the essential role played by intelligence services. In 2014 and 2015, the European Parliament adopted 2 resolutions on the electronic mass surveillance of EU citizens, calling upon Member States to implement stronger safeguards and to enhance oversight. Your call remains highly topical. At the same time, the European Parliament requested the FRA to conduct in-depth research on fundamental rights protection in the context of surveillance. Our first findings were published in 2015. For the first time, we mapped intelligence law in the EU. Today, I am very pleased to present to you our final report after nearly 3.5 years of detailed research and analysis. Research was at times extremely challenging, not only because of the extremely diverse nature of intelligence law across Europe, but also due to the secrecy that is inherent to this sector. With this report, the EU Agency for Fundamental Rights provides you with an assessment of the implementation of intelligence law following discussion with experts in 7 EU member states. Next slide, please. Legislation on EU member states is recent and is still in full evolution. As you can see from this map, areas in dark blue mark countries where reforms have been implemented since 2015. While almost all EU member states have a legal framework on targeted surveillance, some, including France, Germany, the Netherlands, Sweden and the United Kingdom, have also adopted legislation on general surveillance of communications. Others also conducting general surveillance do not have laws that are detailed enough to be analyzed. Because our research relied solely on publicly available laws and regulation, we could only comment on this under-regulation issue. In the field of surveillance, fundamental rights protection is inextricably linked to 3 critical safeguards: legality, oversight and remedies. Our research focused on these 3 core areas as well. Next slide. On the first issue of legality, many of our interviewees, which quotes you can see on these slides, criticize the complexity and vagueness of definitions contained in intelligence law. FRA research confirmed that to expect lay people to understand current legislation in surveillance or intelligence, even with legal advice, is unrealistic. France, Germany, the Netherlands and the United Kingdom have recently reformed their legislation, not only adapting them to meet new technological threats or development, but also to answer new threats, but also to improve clarity, and this is something that we need to underline. Other member states, such as Finland, are following suit. Nonetheless, interviewees in these countries continue to describe the rules governing surveillance as unclear. The key challenge that lawmakers face is to regulate intelligence services without revealing, of course, specificity about intelligence action, while at the same time ensuring that fundamental rights are upheld. Some member states manage this more effectively than others. For some, compliance of national legal framework with European Convention of Human Rights standards remain a challenge. Next slide, please. On the second issue of oversight of intelligence services, FRA research focused on two main areas. Control of legality of surveillance measure, of course, a core task of expert bodies, and fundamental rights protection. National oversight frameworks varied extremely across member states. However, most of the time we see the same actors as shown on this slide. These include parliamentary committee, independent judicial expert bodies, data protection authorities, and other agencies performing watchdog function. Historical and political differences mean that there is no single or uniform oversight model. Our findings show that 16 member states have set up one or more expert bodies exclusively dedicated to intelligence service oversight. This is a solution that, according to FRA, should be preferred. Next slide, please. Expert interview defined effective oversight as having three essential characteristics. First, complete independence. Second, designated powers and competence. Third, transparent to public scrutiny. The legal independence of oversight body is essential for them to function with impartiality and thereby gain public confidence. Our report outlines key features that determine full independence. Examples include parliamentary committees chaired by opposition parties, or ensuring oversight bodies are not seated in governmental buildings. Our research identified two key barriers, however, currently undermining the effectiveness of oversight bodies. First, their lack of full access to intelligence data, and second, their inability to make full use of data even when available due to the lack of technical capacity. Insufficient expertise by members of oversight agency was repeatedly identified as a critical issue by many of our respondents. Additionally, representatives of oversight bodies also identify a lack of public confidence in their activity due to the secrecy surrounding their work. Without openness to public scrutiny, they struggle to establish the public confidence they require to conduct their work effectively. However, while these findings indicate important challenges at national level, perhaps one of the most disturbing and troubling findings of our research was the extremely weak oversight of international cooperation between intelligence services. Our finding indicates that 17 out of 28 member states do not prescribe any independent oversight on intelligence data received from foreign services. At FRA, we believe that strengthening intelligence oversight both at the national and international level is vital for the years to come. Next slide, please. Finally, on the third issue of effective remedies, FRA research found that individuals are being systematically compromised in the context of national security without adequate access to remedy. This is particularly the case of the right to notification of persons under surveillance and their access to information. Although 25 EU member states currently provide individuals with the possibility to lodge a complaint before one or more judicial bodies, non-judicial bodies, we found this remedial system to be very diverse and lack of clarity. We encounter frequent complaints about individuals not knowing where to turn to or being dissatisfied with the outcome of their case due to the secrecy and lack of transparency surrounding the proceedings. Next slide, please. Intelligence-related cases also present several challenges for remedial bodies, like oversight body. They can be denied access to classified information or lack, again, the necessary technical expertise to handle these cases. Some member states have therefore established alternative mechanisms in an effort to enhance both their effectiveness and their transparency. However, our findings show that due to the highly technical nature of intelligence matters, judges continue to lack the relevant expertise required for these cases. Although this is evident that exchanges between remedial body, expert bodies and intelligence service are underway, the lack of the judiciary's technical expertise in national security cases continues to cripple the effectiveness of legal remedies. Next slide, please. In closing, the FRA report outlines possible solutions which can be summarized as follows. First, to establish detailed, precise and foreseeable rules governing surveillance regimes. Second, to provide independent and continuous intelligence oversight with sufficient powers, competency and technical expertise. And third, to ensure the availability of effective remedies before independent judicial or non-judicial bodies with remedial power. In whole, ladies and gentlemen, you'll find in our report 16 FRA opinions which serves as recommendation to law and policy makers, a sort of toolkit that would enable the setting up of a proper intelligence legislation. The key findings presented before you today underpins FRA's firm conviction that fundamental rights must be embedded in the surveillance legislation of EU member states if we were to achieve security. While recognizing the need for security measures, we are convinced that these should and can be devised and delivered in a way that doesn't compromise our fundamental values, of which human rights are at the core. Thank you.